seriously changed in order to make sure that worlds are in conversation with worlds and learning from each other, not just as aspects of charity or pity, but as demonstrations of integrity and as an invitation to practice a culture that's flourishing for mutual reasons.
And Anthony, you find yourself on the inside of some great and immensely famous institution now at the University of Oxford. So I'm sure you've got some things to say to us about power and privilege, but where you're kind of, I think, breaking apart some of what was happening and trying to build up some more ethical dialogue and thinking about theology. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Oh, are you on mute, Anthony? Because we can't quite hear you. Maybe you are.
Sorry. Yes, I was on mute.
We can hear you now.
That's a rookie error. Rookie error. Yeah, I mean, I think universities in general, and I think Oxford and Cambridge in particular, I think are very, very distinct and unique experiments in how we think about how we live together. Because that I know there's always a tension that we often have a government or governments that are very utilitarian. So they want to tell the universities, what we want you to do is to inculcate skills, technical skills into young people so they can go away and get jobs and be useful and be good economic units. And I get that to an extent, but I think that misses the point of what all of us know, what the best of education is, which is it's a form of formation. It's about helping people to understand what it means to be our best self, learning alongside others, and accepting that from the moment you arrive, you know that you will believe. You know, it's a really interesting how each year kind of constitutes itself. People make friends, then people move on, and then it reconstitutes itself again. So it's never static. I think at its best, it becomes a microcosm really of the larger worlds people go into, because you're always in the process of negotiating and renegotiating your sense of self and identity as you're alongside others. And I think the power of chaplaincy is the possibility of entering into people's lives, but outside of the formalized context of teaching and learning, which tends to be obviously transactional. You know, I mean, so I turn up in their classroom and I'm teaching students and I want them to learn certain things that they can reproduce in their exams in order to show that they've learned and I've done my job well, you know. Well, obviously when they encounter someone like yourself in chaplaincy in Sheffield, that's a different relationship because it's not transactional in the same way. And so there's a sense in which I think chaplains have an opportunity both to deconstruct and to critique some of the ways in which I think universities are becoming increasingly commercialized and students are seen as very much as commodities of units that bring in money. And therefore, let's offer courses that can amplify that. That has to be resisted. And I think there's something about chaplaincy at its best that is about helping people to discover their best selves. There's more than just skills acquisition, but also it's about testing out new ways of being. I think, you know, I mean, one of the most profound ways in which I have been shaped was by going to Birmingham University and leaving Bradford, West Yorkshire, and suddenly being alongside other people who had views that I'd never come across before. And you know, I mean, I still remember meeting my first lesbian woman. And now looking back in terms of that encounter, I'm embarrassed by some of my initial reactions. Like somehow I thought like she might have two heads or something, you know, because you know, I mean, she loved other women. The learning from that was more than any book I could have picked up. The learning from just sitting down and having coffee with her and finding in some respects she was just remarkably unremarkable. She was just a young woman who was discovering her identity and had one facet of her life that I had been taught to condemn. And suddenly I realized that by engagement with her, there were things we had in common. And the things that were different, that had nothing to do with that one facet of her life. They were to do with lots of other things. And so when I left, the Anthony George Reddy was a very different individual than the one that had come. And so what I'm trying to do within Oxford, I think within all the higher education institutions, is to help people to discover that journey, to discover that sense of, so what are the things that you'll hold on to because they're important and they're part of your formation, but what are the things that you'll put down because you'll say, actually, they were important to this point, but actually, I don't need it anymore. I can move on. I can be still me, but a more amplified version of me. An amplified version that has been nourished by encounter with the other, and to find that the other is both similar and different, as all of us are similar and different. I think one of the things I love about Emmanuel Larti's book, which I'll be talking a bit about in my talk in Living Colour, is this interesting tension between all of us being unique and distinct. All of us are similar to some other people, but essentially there's something about all of us being more alike than unalike. And certainly within the Christian doctrine of creation, of talking about all of us being created in God's image and likeness, there is something about every person on this planet that has similar needs, similar desires, similar hopes, yet they get played out in different ways.
I'd like to ask Anthony to say a few last words before I invite you, Pádraig, to have the final word. And I think that our hope here at the conference is that we can be working towards a contribution to society and universities from chaplaincies, which promotes unity and peace across beliefs, across religions, and is anti-racist and anti-violent and anti-hate. And it seems all of those things, those great aspirations that we have for the conference, relate to dealing with the borders of our own lives and helping others deal with the borders of their lives in creative and imaginative ways, which don't get stuck in versions of nostalgic past. But what's your message back to those of us at the conference about being creative, about a more united, peaceful, anti-hate, anti-racist world? How do we build it? And what do our own borders have to do with it?
I am a incessant optimist. I'll put another way, I'm someone who is imbued with hope. I mean, that's what keeps me as a Christian theologian, is a sense of hope. And I think what I've discovered over the years as someone now in his late 50s, you know, I mean, I don't know how I suddenly woke up and found myself to be 57, you know, I mean, I feel like I was like 20 yesterday. It's the importance of story, that all of us have stories. And I remember a wise person many years telling me that all of us are the sum of the stories that we tell about ourselves and the stories that we tell about others. And so I want us to luxuriate in the stories that we will tell and the stories that we will hear that will hopefully shape us and enable us to have courage and confidence and to help banish fear. That I'm not really one for quoting scripture, but I think somewhere in the scripture it talks about perfect love the perfect love banishing fear. And we know that what often helps oppression to flourish, what helps evil to flourish, is often fear. It's fear within ourselves, and it's fear of the other, and it's fear of what's going to happen tomorrow. And actually, if we can say that we can tell stories that are hopeful, that will enable us to say, you know something, fear can be banished, that all of us can be better, that as Pádraig said about the EU, that peace takes work, but we know ultimately peace is far better than the alternative. You know, I mean, it's just self-evident. And therefore, if we can have hopefully, I'm looking forward to a joyful opportunity to meet people from all over the world. And for them to hear something of my story that makes me me. But also, more importantly, much more importantly, is for me to hear the stories of other people that makes them who they are. And then, and it's in that intersectionality of as we engage with one another that hopefully all of us will leave imbued with hope and a commitment to believe that we can be part of the change that we want to see in the world.
Anthony, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your input on Wednesday morning on many of overlapping and important topics you'll take us further. Pádraig, what's our hope for a desired outcome of more peace and anti-hate and anti-violence and anti-racism? What are your guiding thoughts for us and your final stories?
Well, I don't think I have any guiding thoughts. What I have is gratitude, because you're all doing the work. You know, I know you're probably overworked and underpaid, and you have too many things to get done on any day, and that probably on every day somebody arrives at your door with a crisis and you actually don't have time, but you make time. That, to my mind, is the work that is so important, especially in an environment that is more and more pressured, where lecturers are being put under more and more pressure to bring in money, where students, as Anthony was saying, are being viewed as commodities, and also where the university administrators are in a broader culture that's being forced, often, depending as to what jurisdiction you're in, being forced into a business model where the possibility of learning for the sake of learning and flourishing is being eradicated in the name of what's the corporate investment happening here. And I think it must be a complicated thing to be a university administrator and a lecturer and a chaplain. And in all of this, one of the things that chaplains do by their very title is to say, I'm interruptible. And one of the things that I think is possible is to build on what Anthony was saying regarding story, is with permission and with confidence and with all of that, is to find a way where the narratives you're experiencing about the impact of being in that system can be amplified to the level of policy, and where universities that know they need to have better provision for mental health, better provision for pastoral support, and better provision for those people who fall through the cracks, that they can have access to that kind of information and access to how interruptible we need to be, and how important learning for the sake of learning, culture for the sake of culture, flourishing for the sake of flourishing is in all the kinds of preparatory work to ensure that life can flourish rather than life being straightened. Some of that's financial, some of that's interpersonal, and everything in between. You all know that already and always do it. And I suppose my hope, it's not a guidance, my hope is that you are in institutions where you are not just being seen as the people tidying up the corners, but actually those corners are being seen as indicators of the real life of the university, and that there can be avenues where your wisdom and what you hear and see and what's brought to you can be heard in a way that it can be more and more attended to with great care and curiosity and creativity by the very university, not just at its edges.
Pádraig, thank you so much. Learning for the sake of learning, culture for the sake of culture, and flourishing for the sake of flourishing are some words at the close which help inspire us. And thank you so much for coming and inspiring us. And we need to leave a moment for the people in the room in Sheffield in the Edge to give you and Anthony a big round of applause. So we'll just allow that to happen. Thank you so much.